She looked me dead in the eye and laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not a shocked laugh, a cold, calculated, almost amused laugh. "You," she said, loud enough for the entire room to hear. "You thought I'd marry you." The ring box was still sitting on the table between us. I hadn't even opened it yet. 100 eyes turned in our direction. Her friends, her family, strangers with phones already recording. I didn't speak, I didn't flinch. I just picked the ring back up, stood, and walked out. No drama, no yelling, just silence and my exit. They had no idea what I was about to do next. My name is Nathan Wells. I'm 34 years old. Born and raised in East Boston. Not the fancy part. The kind of neighborhood where you learned how to repair your own truck before you ever learned calculus. Where people measured your worth by how steady your hands were, not how smooth your words sounded. I wasn't born lucky. Didn't grow up with a trust fund or an uncle in venture capital. But I learned early how to really work. Built my first freelance coding job on a second-hand laptop in the corner of a mechanic's shop. Took night classes, ate vending machine dinners, paid off student debt by 30, and started building software for cities that didn't know how to fix their own systems. Now I run a small civic tech company. We help governments operate more like startups and less like museums. It's not glamorous, but it's meaningful. I care about solving real problems, and for the last 3 years, I thought I had someone by my side who understood that. Her name was Chloe. She entered my life like a lightning bolt. We met at a co-working space in Cambridge, the kind where people wear blazers over hoodies and call themselves visionaries while drinking $6 coffee. I was there for a pitch meeting. She was leading a workshop on brand identity for female entrepreneurs. She had presence, confidence, sharp eyes that scanned a room like she already knew everyone's secrets. She talked like she meant every word and somehow made you believe you could do more, be more. We started talking, then texting, then building something that felt like it might last. She moved in after 10 months. We weren't impulsive. We were intentional. Or so I thought. We shared routines, passwords, even an air fryer. We talked about kids one day. A dog first, maybe. She liked emeralds more than diamonds. Thought diamonds were cliché. She said emeralds meant someone had listened, really listened. I was listening. Then came Alex, her sister's fiancé. Handsome in the predictable way. Tall, charming, with that laid-back arrogance that makes people believe he knows what he's talking about, even when he doesn't. Worked in tech too, though he called himself a strategic technologist. Whatever that meant. He started showing up more. Family dinners, group outings, weekend trips. Always asking me questions. How's the city project coming? What database architecture are you using? Ever think about presenting it to the procurement board? At the time, I didn't think twice. He was family, or about to be. I was generous with my knowledge, trusted too easily. Looking back, I can pinpoint the exact night I realized something was off. It was early spring. We were hosting a dinner at our place for both families, a pre-engagement vibe, though I hadn't officially proposed yet. Chloe had dropped subtle hints, venue ideas, dress styles, even joked about prenups over dessert. But that night, she was distant, distracted. I caught her glancing at Alex more than once. He was laughing too loudly. She was sipping wine like it was water. And when I brought up the municipal system, I was building the one I'd been working on for over 6 months, they both froze for just a second. It passed quickly, but I saw it, and I felt it. Something was wrong. Still, I pushed forward. I'd found the ring. A vintage emerald set in an Art Deco gold band. The exact kind she described once, years ago, when we were window shopping in the rain. I'd saved for months, took on extra contracts, coded through weekends, skipped holidays, because I thought love meant showing up, investing, building something together. So I booked a venue for the proposal, a rooftop garden in Back Bay with skyline views and soft jazz. Invited close friends and family. Even hired a discreet videographer to capture the moment she'd say yes. Only she didn't. She said something else entirely. You thought I'd marry you. Like I was some delusional intern who'd misread a coffee meeting. The crowd fell into stunned silence. Someone dropped a glass. Chloe. She smiled like nothing was out of place, like she hadn't just detonated a bomb. I stood there for a few seconds, breathing slowly. Then I picked up the ring, turned, and left. Outside. Boston air cut through my jacket like ice. But I felt strangely clear, cold, focused. Like something inside me had snapped and what replaced it was sharper. They thought I'd go quietly, but I don't break. I rebuild, and I remember everything. After I walked off that rooftop, everything felt still. The city kept moving, traffic lights changing, car horns blaring in the distance. But for me, it was like the world went silent, like someone hit pause. Inside, Chloe was probably still smiling, still pretending, still making it all seem like my reaction was the problem. But I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was something else, aware. And that's when I started rewinding everything. All of it. Every conversation, every question, every moment that didn't sit right, finally clicking into place. This story didn't begin with the proposal. It started long before that. 3 years earlier, I met Chloe at a panel on entrepreneurship. She was leading the conversation, commanding the stage like she owned it, confident, clear, sharp as a razor. She was everything I wasn't at the time, socially magnetic, well-dressed, fast-talking. But when she stepped off that stage and sat across from me at the networking mixer, she asked questions that didn't feel rehearsed. You build systems for cities, that's niche and necessary. I remember smiling. No one had ever said that out loud. We talked for hours that night. Not about big dreams or vague goals. Real stuff. Broken infrastructure, technology gaps in local government. How systems are only as good as the people maintaining them. She got it. Or at least, she made me believe she did. Our relationship was like a project. In the best way. She brought structure, order, color-coded calendars, efficiency. I brought chaos. Long nights, whiteboards full of flowcharts and back-end logic. We worked, we really did. She had a small following on Instagram back then. Nothing huge, just a curated mix of motivational posts, lifestyle aesthetics, and startup stories. She wanted to rebrand herself as a business mindset coach for women in transition. I offered to help. Designed a minimalist logo, built her website from scratch, customized scheduling software, created a visual brand that felt intentional, not just trendy. We stayed up past midnight, tweaking fonts and reviewing launch emails. It was personal, collaborative, or so I thought. That same year, I started building something on the side, a municipal issue reporting system. Think potholes, streetlight outages, noise complaints all streamlined through one simple app for city residents. Clean interface, fast response workflows, integrated data for city departments. No one asked me to build it. I saw the need, knew the pain points, and figured, why not try? I didn't use company time or tools, just my weekends, my own server, my rules. At first, only 3 people knew about it. My contact at City Hall, she signed an NDA. My manager, Steve, quiet guy, not the gossipy type. And Chloe, because we lived together, and I trusted her. She used to ask questions, innocent at first. How many departments would use it? Could it track response times? What kind of dashboard would a mayor want to see? I chalked it up to curiosity. She was detail-oriented, always thinking like a brand strategist. But she wasn't the only one asking questions. Alex, her sister's fiancé, started chiming in too. We were at brunch one Sunday, sitting on the patio. Chloe had just gone inside to grab more napkins, and out of nowhere, he leaned over and asked, "So what's your API security model look like for that city app you're building?" I laughed at first, thought he was joking. But he wasn't. He kept going, asked about my database setup, whether I was using cloud or local servers, who owned the IP. It was weirdly specific. That same night, Chloe asked if I'd ever consider open sourcing the platform. I mean, it'd be so great for your brand. She said, free tools, public good, recognition. It felt off, like they were on the same wavelength, asking different versions of the same questions. Still, I brushed it off. Because when you're close to someone, when you've built a life with them, doubt feels like betrayal. I didn't want to be suspicious. I wanted to believe in them. That was my first mistake. Over time, the questions kept coming. So did the timing. Whenever I hit a milestone in my side project, Chloe would suddenly bring it up. Ask about new features, metrics, how I plan to scale, and every single time, within a few days, Alex would drop a similar question during casual conversation. Sometimes he even quoted my own language back to me, almost word for word. I should have noticed, should have stopped sharing. But love makes you careless, and trust makes you blind. Meanwhile, Chloe's business was booming. She'd rebranded as the Authentic CEO, started selling coaching packages, webinars, ebooks, all designed with the branding I created, the ones she never credited. Didn't bother me then. We were a team, shared resources, shared wins, or so I thought. What I didn't realize is that she wasn't just using my designs. She was using my language, my voice, my work. She took testimonials I'd collected for my civic project and tweaked them to sound like they were for her coaching clients. She used my UI layouts for her sales dashboards. Even the structure of her newsletter matched mine down to the font and footer. By the time I noticed, it was already too late. She wasn't inspired by me. She was copying me. Looking back, it's easy to see the blueprint. They didn't just lie. They studied me. They took notes, waited for the right moment, and then acted like they came up with it all, like I was just a stepping stone, a placeholder, someone to build with until they were ready to take the credit. And that's exactly what they did. Because a few weeks before the proposal, everything came crashing down. Alex announced that he'd been selected for the city's Q3 Innovation Showcase. The headline, "Revolutionizing Urban Feedback, a Smarter System for Smarter Cities." He even submitted my diagrams, my project name, my color palette. And Chloe, she posted a story the same night. A soft focus photo of them on a rooftop. Captioned, "Sometimes." Your soulmate was right there all along. No names, no details, but I didn't need them. I already knew what they'd done. The night I saw that Instagram story, I sat in silence for nearly an hour. It was a rooftop I knew. One I had taken Chloe to for her birthday last year. Same angle, same skyline. Different story. Her head rested on Alex's shoulder. His hand was around her waist, like it had been there forever. The caption read, "Sometimes. Your soulmate was right there all along." My phone buzzed nonstop after that. Friends, co-workers, even an old roommate from grad school sent me screenshots. "Dude, is this real? I thought Chloe was with you. Isn't that the guy from Thanksgiving dinner?" It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was performance. They wanted me to see it. They wanted everyone to see it. I didn't respond to anyone that night. I didn't cry, didn't scream. I just sat at the kitchen counter, looking at my hands. Those same hands had fixed her car, held her through panic attacks, designed her brand from scratch, built the system Alex was now calling his innovation. My body felt too still for how fast my mind was racing. But then came the email. Subject line Q3 Innovation, Showcase Finalists announced. I opened it, already knowing what I'd find. There it was. Alex Caruso, Austin Municipal Reporting System. 6 months of my work. Nights and weekends. Line by line. Designed by me, submitted under his name. The timing wasn't random. It was tactical. They'd gone public with their relationship the same day his name went out in citywide emails. A reveal and a rebrand. And I was the collateral. At work, people whispered. They didn't say much to my face, but I could feel the shift, the side glances, the careful tone changes, the way conversations paused when I walked into a room. Alex, meanwhile, acted like nothing had changed. Showed up early, dressed sharper, smiled wider. "Big week," he said, leaning on my cubicle one morning. "Innovation Showcase is going to be huge." I nodded, said nothing, just tapped my fingers on the desk and looked at him. He gave me that fake friendly smirk, then walked off like we were still colleagues, still brothers. He didn't know I was already collecting receipts. Chloe, on the other hand, didn't stay silent. The text started again, not apologizing, accusing. "You walked out on me in front of my family. You embarrassed me. You didn't even try to talk." Then came the one that made my blood run cold. "You owe me for wasting 2 years of my life." Like love was a transaction, like I was a failed investment. Then she dropped the real reason for texting. "Also, I want the ring back. I deserve compensation." Compensation. For what? For lying. For copying my work. For setting me up. I forwarded the message to Elena, my attorney. Her response was simple. "This helps us. It's legally useful. Don't reply." So I didn't. The next week, Chloe showed up at my place, unannounced. She stood at my front door in full makeup, oversized sunglasses, and a soft voice like nothing had ever happened. "We need to talk," she said. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. She started talking fast, said she had doubts, that she panicked, that it all felt like too much, that Alex didn't mean anything at first. But she got confused and things got blurry. Then she shifted gears. "I just feel like you should understand. We were both building something, right? And it's not like I stole anything. You helped me. You gave me those designs. That logo. It was a gift." That word again. "Gift?" I cut her off. Chloe, let me be clear. You didn't just take a logo. You took my code, my words, my work. You handed it over to someone else like it was nothing. That's not a gift. That's theft. Her eyes narrowed. You're being dramatic. No one's going to care about some nerdy city app. She turned, flicked her hair, and walked back to her car. That's when I knew. They still thought I'd do nothing. They still thought I was the quiet, dependable placeholder. They forgot who I am. Later that night, I opened my laptop and pulled up my code repository. There it was, my entire system. Every line, every version, every edit tracked and time-stamped. But I had something else. A hidden fingerprint. Months ago, I'd buried a phrase deep in my code comments. Something unique, a personal marker, disguised as technical language. Infrastructure redundancy cascade protocols. It sounded real enough to pass, but I had made it up. It existed nowhere else. A signature. If that phrase showed up in Alex's submission, there'd be no doubt. Then I remembered something else. 6 months earlier, Chloe had asked me for raw design files for her Instagram templates. Said she wanted to resize them. I sent the originals, all saved under my name, with metadata intact. I checked her current posts. Same files, same dimensions. Slightly altered, but unmistakably mine. And no credit. She had built her entire coaching business off my creative work. Every post, every pitch deck, every brand element I had handcrafted for her. No licensing, no mention, no permission. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was intellectual theft. And suddenly, I wasn't sad. I wasn't even angry. I was focused. I spent the weekend building a timeline. Not emotional, factual. Text messages from Chloe and Alex. Back to back. Asking similar questions. File creation dates on my laptop. GitHub commit logs. Screenshots of posts. Emails from the city showcase. And the hidden phrase in my code. When I finished, it looked less like a breakup and more like a case file. This wasn't a personal issue anymore. It was legal. It was strategic. And it was going to be handled my way. By Monday morning, I had everything I needed, not for a confrontation, for something better. A strategy. Revenge isn't loud. It's not screaming matches or broken dishes. It's quiet. Careful. Precise. It's documents in order. Timelines that hold up. Receipts that speak louder than emotions ever could. So I made 3 calls. The first was to Elena, the IP attorney I'd met through a networking event 2 years back. She didn't waste time. After I walked her through the situation, she cut straight to the point. Send me everything: code logs, design files, screenshots, messages. I'll handle the legal side. You focus on staying silent. I sent her a folder so detailed. It could have passed for an FBI file. The second call was to my company's legal department. See, what Alex didn't realize was that by using my personal work without attribution in a professional context tied to his employer, he'd created a liability for both himself and the company. I submitted a formal internal complaint. Category: unauthorized use of personal intellectual property. And the third call, that went to the City of Austin's procurement fraud hotline. I explained how a current tech employee submitted someone else's proprietary system as his own during a competitive selection process for a municipal contract. They listened, and they took notes. By midweek, the engine was running. Elena drafted 3 separate legal notices. One to Chloe, a cease and desist for unauthorized commercial use of my branding and designs. Plus, a retroactive licensing demand. Another to Alex, a formal claim regarding stolen source code and misrepresentation of ownership during a public procurement process. And the third to the city itself, confirming the chain of events and offering cooperation during their investigation. No fluff, no drama, just clean, professional language backed by proof. It was beautiful. At work, I played it cool. Alex, on the other hand, started looking rattled. He stopped making small talk in the break room, started avoiding eye contact. His shoulders slouched just a little more every day. He must have felt it, the weight shifting. Then came the HR meeting. They called us both in. Same room, same table. Legal counsel sitting quietly in the corner. Alex tried to get ahead of it. He's being difficult, withholding shared work, creating a hostile environment. I didn't flinch. I filed a documented IP complaint. Everything's time-stamped. Nothing was shared, nothing was agreed to. And no, I haven't created a hostile anything. HR asked Alex to show evidence. He mumbled something about vibe and lack of collaboration. They didn't bite. Then the legal rep looked at him directly. Can you walk us through how you developed this municipal system from scratch? He froze. Used best practices. Studied similar tools. Built it from tutorials. They nodded slowly. Then asked the question I was waiting for. And this phrase in your submission, infrastructure redundancy cascade protocols. What does that refer to? His mouth opened, then closed. He looked at me, back at them. It's, industry standard. Wrong answer. Because we all knew it wasn't. It was mine. That night, Chloe texted me again. I can't believe you're doing this. You're trying to ruin our lives over a stupid app. And then, even worse. Return my ring or I'll tell everyone what kind of person you really are. I didn't respond. I forwarded it straight to Elena. Her reply was instant. This is extortion. It helps us even more. Keep documenting. So I did. I documented everything. By the end of the week, Alex was pulled from the showcase. Internal investigation pending. City contract frozen. His calendar, once full of meetings and project timelines, suddenly empty. The man who used to strut into the office like he owned it now slipped in through the side door and kept his head down. His LinkedIn status updates stopped. So did the smiles. And Chloe. Her coaching brand began to crumble. Elena's takedown notices hit hard. Her Instagram page turned from curated perfection to a grid of empty gray boxes. She posted a story. Of course, haters will always try to dim your light, but pressure makes diamonds. The comments weren't kind. People asked what happened, where the posts went, why the branding changed. Clients she never worked with started speaking up. Competitors shared receipts. Her little empire of smoke and mirrors was catching fire. Fast, I didn't celebrate. Not yet. Because this wasn't over. It was still unfolding, and I wanted every last detail handled properly. So I scheduled one more meeting. A quiet conversation with HR. Just me and the legal rep. I submitted my full development log, version history, metadata, Git commits, screenshots. Elena sent over formal declarations and letters of certification. The company's legal team reviewed everything and made a decision. Alex would no longer be involved in external-facing projects. No city contracts. No innovation showcases. He'd be reassigned to internal tools inventory systems, the digital equivalent of a filing cabinet. They didn't fire him. Not yet. But they pulled the spotlight. And in tech, that's sometimes worse. A few days later, I walked past his cubicle. It was quiet, dark, his monitor off, his chair empty. I left a sticky note on the desk. 3 words, no signature. This is yours. I thought I was done with them. I really did. After the internal reshuffle, the city contract freeze, and Chloe's takedown notices, I figured they'd go quiet. Stay low, regroup, maybe even move on. But some people don't know how to stop digging. It started with a text from Alex. "Let's talk. We can fix this." I didn't reply. 2 minutes later, another one. "We'll split credit. 50-50. I'll make sure your name is added to everything." My chest tightened. Not from anger, from how predictable it had all become. Then came the third message. "Keep pushing this, and I'll tell everyone you stole the code from a contractor we hired. Your word against mine." That one, I didn't even flinch. I just forwarded it to Elena. Within minutes, she called me directly. "He just handed us a felony." She said, "That's witness intimidation and attempted fraud. Forwarded this to the DA's office. You've got nothing to worry about." I smiled for the first time in days. The next morning, HR called me in again. This time, just a quiet follow-up. They let me know that Alex had failed to provide sufficient technical documentation for his project. No diagrams, no code-base history, no answers. The Architecture Review Board, a group of senior developers who'd seen it all, had grilled him for hours. He couldn't explain the data model. Didn't know why certain algorithms had been chosen. Stumbled over terminology. Missed basic questions about deployment timelines. His fall was no longer internal. It was official. Meanwhile, Chloe's situation got worse. Her business website, the one she'd built on top of my branding, went dark. Completely wiped. Turns out, she hadn't just borrowed from me. Elena's research team uncovered stolen testimonials, unlicensed stock photos, and plagiarized content from other coaches across the country. Her entire personal brand had been built on lies, not just mine. Now she was under formal investigation for business fraud. I didn't dance in celebration. I didn't pop champagne. But I did reorganize my entire garage. Took every tool, every socket, every piece of equipment and labeled it. Foam inserts, custom drawers, everything in its place. It was symbolic. I was taking back control 1 square inch at a time. A few days later, my doorbell rang. It was Alex. I opened the door slowly, didn't say a word. He looked different, smaller, paler, wearing the same hoodie I'd once given him for his birthday. "I messed up," he said. I didn't deny it, just waited. "She used both of us," he added, voice cracking. "She played the long game. I should have seen it. But I didn't. And now everything's gone." I didn't argue. He asked to come inside. Said he wanted to make things right. Against my better judgment, I let him into the garage. Not my home, just the garage. He stood there for a minute, taking it in. The clean rows, the labeled drawers, the smell of oil and steel and discipline. "This used to be ours," he said, glancing at the old toolbox we once shared. "Remember, Basrop, the summer we built your dad's shop? We were a team." I cracked open 2 cold drinks, set one on the workbench in front of him, sat across from him without saying a word. He finally pulled a folded sheet of paper from his pocket. I wrote it out. He said, "Everything. The truth. What I took, what I presented, where it went." I didn't touch it. "Email it," I said. "To who?" "Yourself. Legal. HR. City attorney. Me. Everyone." He hesitated, then pulled out his phone and did it. The confirmation buzzed a few seconds later. "Done." He let out a long, tired sigh. "So, we good now?" I didn't answer right away. Instead, I reached into the drawer and pulled out something else. A printed screenshot of his threatening text, the one that said your word against mine. I stapled it to a copy of the confession he just sent. Keep this, I said, before and after. His face changed. You set me up. No. I said. You walked in here asking for a reset. That was the reset. He stood abruptly, knocking over his drink. The cold brew pooled on the concrete floor between us. You're cold, he muttered. No, I said. I'm clear. The next day, Elena called. Final updates. She said, the city had officially terminated Alex's pending contract. His non-compete clause now barred him from working on any public sector technology projects for 2 full years. His reassignment came with a 15% pay cut. No client-facing roles. No promotions in sight. Career suicide with a paper trail. Chloe. She'd agreed to pay the full licensing fee for the stolen brand work, plus legal costs. Around $4,000 total. The kind of check that didn't fix the damage, but made the boundaries clear. My company. They offered to license my municipal system directly. Full credit. Fair compensation. Long-term collaboration. I signed the paperwork that afternoon. 3 days later, Alex's LinkedIn profile disappeared. Just gone. Like he'd never existed. And Chloe started doing TikTok lives from her sister's guest bedroom, crying into ring lights about being misunderstood. She started a GoFundMe, too. The caption said, "For women rebuilding after narcissistic abuse." I didn't donate. The revenge wasn't about pain. It was about clarity. About proof. About showing them and myself that no matter how hard they tried to take from me, they could never become me. Some people build, others imitate, and eventually, the difference always shows. After everything came crashing down, the contracts, the public image, the lies, it got quiet. Not peaceful, just still. Alex stopped showing up early. He no longer smiled when he passed co-workers. He used to light up every room he walked into. Now, he barely looked people in the eye. He avoided the front entrance, parked in the back, ate lunch alone. The guy who once pitched my work as his personal innovation now spent his days managing internal tools. No visibility, no clients, no chance to rise. He had officially been buried by the very spotlight he tried to steal. As for Chloe, she spiraled publicly. Her entire coaching brand had vanished from Instagram. The comments from confused followers were brutal. Her image, polished and powerful, had dissolved into smoke. Then she pivoted. Started doing tearful TikTok lives, talking about how she'd been manipulated by toxic men. Claimed she was a survivor. Said people tried to silence her voice. The comment section wasn't buying it. One person wrote, "You stole your entire business model. Sit down." Another said, "Girl, you copied half the internet and got caught. Don't play victim now." Then someone shared a screenshot of her GoFundMe page. It read, "Helping a strong woman start over after emotional devastation." The only person donating was her sister. But I wasn't watching it for revenge anymore. I wasn't tracking her downfall. I wasn't thinking about him. I was just breathing again. It was strange, the way freedom crept in. At first, it felt unfamiliar, like I was waiting for the next hit, the next betrayal, the next twist. But it never came. There were no more texts, no threats, no noise, just quiet. I started sleeping again. Deep, undisturbed sleep. I cooked real meals. Rewatched old shows Chloe had once vetoed. Started writing code for fun, not out of defense or obligation. The project I built, the one they tried to take, was now mine in every sense. Licensed. Protected. respected, and that meant something. People at work began to treat me differently, not with pity, with respect. Derek, the database guy who noticed the stolen terminology early on, stopped by my desk. Just wanted to say, he muttered, "That whole thing, you handled it like a surgeon. Quiet, precise, respect." I didn't say much, just nodded. Because that's the thing about building real building. It doesn't shout, it doesn't broadcast. It just lasts. One evening, as I sat in my garage, the place where all of this started, I looked around and felt something I hadn't in a long time. Peace. Not because they paid, not because they lost, but because I didn't lose my voice. I didn't lose my work. I didn't lose myself. They thought I was weak because I didn't scream. They were wrong. I was waiting. You don't walk away from something like this unchanged. You don't go through betrayal from two people, you trusted people who lived in your world, shared your table, smiled to your face, and come out the same. But what you do come out with is clarity, and that's more valuable than anything they ever tried to take from me. Looking back now, I don't see it as a story about revenge. It's about reclamation. Because what they stole wasn't just a project or a brand or some temporary spotlight. They tried to take my identity, my voice, my discipline, my vision. They thought I wouldn't fight back because I didn't yell, because I didn't chase them down with threats or hashtags or rage. But I knew better. The real win isn't proving them wrong in public. It's proving to yourself that you were never wrong to begin with. I don't talk to them anymore. There's nothing left to say. Alex never recovered. Not professionally. Not socially. He burned every bridge, thinking he was sprinting to success. But you can't build anything when your foundation is someone else's work. He learned that too late. Chloe, last I heard, moved out of her sister's place. She tried to launch another coaching brand under a different name. But the internet doesn't forget. Screenshots circulated. People recognized her designs, her recycled lines, her exact phrasing. And one by one, doors started closing. She built her identity out of borrowed pieces and expected no one to notice. But eventually, someone always does. And me? I don't live in the shadows anymore. The project they tried to steal is now part of a government pilot across 3 cities. My name's on the documentation. My code runs the back end. My reputation holds up in rooms I never thought I'd enter. Funny how things come full circle. It's not flashy. It's not viral. But it's mine. People sometimes ask what I would have done differently. And the truth? Almost nothing. I don't regret trusting them. Not at the time. Because that trust revealed their character, not mine. And that betrayal, it exposed what was always there. They didn't destroy me. They revealed themselves. And I'm grateful for that. Now, I live by 3 simple words. Document, verify, act. Not out of paranoia. But because protection is not pettiness. Because boundaries are strength. Because people will smile to your face while planning to wear your skin like a costume. But if you're ready, if you're steady, if you've built something real, they can't take anything you're not willing to give. So to anyone listening, anyone who's ever been used, betrayed, dismissed, or underestimated, you don't need to become bitter. You just need to become better. Smarter, sharper, colder, if you have to. And when the moment comes, when they realize you were never the weak one, don't celebrate. Just close the door quietly and move forward. Because winning doesn't look like shouting. It looks like peace. If this story resonated with you, let it sit. Let it settle. And if you've got your own battle scars, share them. You never know who needs to hear it. Subscribe, comment, Send it to someone who needs to remember what power looks like when it's quiet. This was my story. Now, tell yours.